The fever had become my constant companion, a low-grade burn beneath my skin that no amount of silk sheets or temperature-controlled air could soothe. I pressed my palm against the floor-to-ceiling window of our Boston penthouse, watching the city lights blur into watercolor smears 27 stories below. Ordinary people living ordinary lives, unaware that monsters wore Armani and called possession love. My phone buzzed against the marble countertop. Marcus. His name glowed on the screen like a summons I couldn't ignore. Sophia. His voice wrapped around my name with that familiar mixture of command and tenderness. I'm checking on you. I traced my reflection in the glass hollow-eyed gaunt, a ghost wearing a designer dress that cost more than my mother's monthly rent. I'm fine. You don't sound fine. Background noise filtered through, soft jazz. The gentle clink of silverware against china, a woman's laugh. Light and carefree, the sound of someone who'd never spent 18 months slowly disappearing inside a golden cage. My stomach twisted. Where are you? Business dinner at Giancarlo's. Should wrap up within the hour. Another laugh, closer this time. Musical, intimate. I'll bring you that soup you like. The one with... The intercom buzzed, cutting him off. Our building's concierge, announcing a courier delivery. Medical documents requiring signature. My heart stopped. What was that? Marcus asked, his tone shifting from concerned husband to something sharper. Nothing. Just a delivery. I moved toward the door on autopilot, my bare feet silent against imported Italian tile. Marcus, who's with you? Associates. The usual players. His voice smoothed over, practiced and controlled. Because I heard a woman laugh like she belonged there. Because you promised to be home by 7 and it's nearly 10. Because I'm dying and I don't even know if you'd notice through the weight of your empire. No reason, I said instead, opening the door to accept a manila envelope from a courier who wouldn't meet my eyes. I'll see you when you get home. I returned to the living room, phone still pressed to my ear, envelope trembling in my hands. The return address read, Boston Medical Diagnostics. Confidential results. The tests I'd taken last week. The ones I hadn't told Marcus about because his security detail monitored every appointment. Every breath, every moment of privacy I tried to claim as my own. Sophia. His voice softened, taking on that dangerous gentleness that preceded questions I didn't want to answer. Are you sure you're all right? You sound... I'm tired, Marcus. That's all. I slid my finger under the envelope's seal. I'm going to bed early. I'll be home soon. Wait up for me. It wasn't a request. I opened the envelope. Medical jargon swam across the page. But certain phrases crystallized with terrible clarity. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Extensive metastases. 6 to 12 months without aggressive intervention. Poor prognosis even with treatment. The phone nearly slipped from my hand. Bella? Marcus's voice seemed to come from very far away. What's wrong? 6 to 12 months. Half a year if I was lucky. Less time than I'd spent planning our wedding, arranging flowers for a future that had already been stolen. Nothing's wrong. The lie tasted like ash. Like all the other lies we'd been feeding each other since the day he'd swept into my life at that charity gala. Prince Charming with blood on his hands and obsession in his eyes. I miss you. Truth, finally. I miss the man I'd thought he was. The one who'd courted me with poetry and patience, before the cameras appeared in every room, before his love became a prison I couldn't name. I miss you too. Something in his voice cracked, almost imperceptible. I'll be home in 30 minutes. I love you, Sophia. I know you do. And that was the tragedy, wasn't it? He loved me the way hurricanes loved coastlines, consuming, destroying, reshaping everything in their path. I ended the call and stood in our expensively appointed living room, holding my death sentence in shaking hands. Outside, a woman laughed at Marcus's dinner table. Inside, my body was killing me. And somehow, impossibly, none of it felt as suffocating as the sound of his key turning in the lock downstairs. I looked toward his home office. The door, usually locked tight as a vault, stood slightly ajar. Just a crack, barely visible, but wrong enough to send ice down my spine. In 18 months of marriage, that door had never been open. Not once. I couldn't sleep. The medical report lay on my nightstand like evidence at a crime scene, its words echoing in the darkness. Stage 4. 6 to 12 months. Poor prognosis. Marcus hadn't come home yet. Another text, another delay. Complications with the contract. Don't wait up. But I was done waiting. Being the obedient wife who asked no questions and accepted every lie wrapped in expensive gifts. The office door still stood ajar, spilling a sliver of light into the hallway. An invitation. A mistake. I didn't know which, and at this point, with death already claiming my future, I didn't care. Pushed it open. His sanctuary smelled like him. Sandalwood cologne, leather, and something metallic I'd learnt not to examine too closely. The desk dominated the space, all dark wood and clean lines. Nothing like the chaos I'd expected from a man who built empires on violence. I shouldn't have looked. Some part of me, the part that still remembered self-preservation, whispered to turn back. But I was dying anyway. What more could the truth take from me? The first drawer opened easily. Too easily. Inside, a folder with my name written in Marcus's precise handwriting. My hand shook as I opened it. Photographs spilled across the mahogany surface. Me. Dozens of images taken from distances and angles that turned my stomach. Walking to my old apartment. Having coffee at the cafe where I used to sketch. Standing outside the non-profit where I'd volunteered. The dates stamped in the corners made my blood run cold 2 years ago. A full year before we'd accidentally met at that charity gala. He'd been watching me. Hunting me. Choosing me before I'd ever had any say in the matter. Beneath the photos, documents. Background checks on my friends' psychological profiles. Analysis of my vulnerability factors and isolation potential. Clinical assessments of how to make me dependent, compliant. How to love me into captivity. My vision blurred. I gripped the desk, trying to steady myself against the vertigo threatening to pull me under. A file folder labeled Project Sophia caught my eye. I opened it with trembling fingers. Notes in Marcus's handwriting. Successfully distanced her from college roommate via controlled conflict. Mother visits reduced to monthly schedule. Art studio lease not renewed. Suggested home studio instead contained environment. He'd engineered my isolation. Every friend who'd drifted away. Every opportunity that had somehow fallen through. Every time I'd felt too tired or too watched to leave the penthouse, all of it orchestrated. I dug deeper, finding his laptop half closed on the desk. The screen flickered to life at my touch, still logged into his email. The most recent thread made my heart stop. A conversation with someone saved as Vivi. Her condition is deteriorating faster than projected. The timeline may need adjustment. Marcus, how much time, V? Hard to say. 6 months, maybe less if we don't intervene. Marcus, no intervention yet. I need her dependent first. Scared. Then we move her to the compound and I become her savior. The date stamp read 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks before I'd gotten sick enough to seek medical help on my own. 3 weeks before the diagnosis that had shattered my world. Marcus knew. He'd always known. As the penthouse door opened, the distinctive beep of the security system disarming Marcus's footsteps in the foyer. Too early. He'd said an hour, but barely 30 minutes had passed. I shoved everything back into the drawer, my pulse thundering in my ears. The laptop screen I'd left it on. I closed it quickly, praying he wouldn't notice the warm keyboard, the disturbed dust patterns on his desk. His footsteps moved down the hallway, toward the bedroom, toward me. I slipped out of the office, pulling the door to the same barely open position, and ran silently to our bedroom. I dove under the covers just as his shadow appeared in the doorway, my breathing ragged, heart slamming against my ribs. "Sophia?" His voice, soft and concerned. "You awake, Bella?" Kept my eyes closed, forcing my breath to even out. Playing dead. Or dying. I couldn't tell the difference anymore. The mattress dipped as he sat beside me. His hand brushed my forehead, checking for fever. And I smelled its expensive perfume that wasn't mine, clinging to his shirt like evidence. He bent close, pressing his lips to my temple. "I'll keep you safe," he whispered against my skin, "no matter what it takes." And lying there in the darkness, pretending to sleep while my husband plotted my dependence and smelled of another woman, I finally understood. I wasn't dying of cancer. I was being killed by love. Morning arrived with the smell of coffee and fresh pastries. I opened my eyes to find Marcus in our kitchen, wearing a casual linen shirt I'd never seen before, moving through our space like a man playing house. He never cooked. We had staff for that. "You're awake." His smile could have melted stone. "I made your favorite Thomond croissants from that bakery in the North End, and eggs, though I'm not promising they're edible." I sat up slowly, watching him with new eyes. This man had surveillance photos of me from a year before we met. This man was discussing my deteriorating condition with someone named V. This man smelled like another woman's perfume last night. "You didn't have to do this," I said carefully. "I wanted to." He brought a tray to the bed china plates, fresh flowers in a small vase, orange juice in crystal. "You looked pale last night." "I'm worried about you, Sophia." The concern in his voice sounded genuine. That was the truly terrifying part. He believed his own lies. I picked at a croissant, my stomach churning. "How was your dinner?" "Productive. Boring." He sat beside me, his hand finding mine. The usual posturing in politics. "I'd rather have been here with you." His phone buzzed on the nightstand. Once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession. Marcus's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. He ignored it. "Aren't you going to get that?" I asked, keeping my voice light. "Nothing that can't wait," but his eyes flicked toward the phone. "Everything important is right here." I forced myself to take a bite, to play the role of devoted wife. The croissant tasted like cardboard. Or maybe that was just the cancer. Or the lies. Hard to tell the difference anymore. His phone buzzed again. This time I saw the name flash across the screen. Vivian. Who's Vivian? The question escaped before I could stop it. Marcus's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. "Business associate. She's been helping with some pharmaceutical acquisitions." He picked up the phone, silencing it. "Nothing you need to worry about. Pharmaceutical acquisitions." The words settled like ice in my chest. Marcus. I set down the croissant, meeting his gaze directly. "I heard a woman laughing last night. At your dinner." That was probably Anna. He didn't miss a beat. "My sister stopped by to discuss the restaurant's expansion. You know how she is. Laughs at everything." His sister. The explanation was smooth, practiced, completely plausible. And I had no way to verify it without revealing I suspected him. "I'd like to see her soon," I said, testing him. "It's been months." "Of course." "I'll arrange it." He squeezed my hand. "Actually, that's perfect timing. I've been meaning to talk to you about something." My pulse quickened. "What?" "I think we should spend some time at the compound. In the Berkshires." His thumb traced circles on my palm, a gesture that used to comfort me. "The fresh air would be good for you. You've been so tired lately, so run down. My private physician is there, Dr. Rothstein. He could give you a complete checkup, make sure everything's all right. The compound, the timeline. Move her to the compound and I become her savior." "When?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. "This weekend. Just a few weeks. Maybe a month. Until you're feeling stronger." His smile was gentle, concerned, completely convincing. "I've already cleared my schedule. It'll be just us, Sophia. No distractions, no stress. I can take care of you properly there. A beautiful prison in the woods. No witnesses, no escape." "That sounds wonderful." I lied, matching his smile with one of my own. "I'd like that." He kissed my forehead, relief evident in the tension leaving his shoulders. "Good. I'll have everything arranged." After breakfast, Marcus left for a meeting downtown. His usual security detail assembled in the foyer, 3 men in dark suits who reported Marcus's every move, every breath. But Leas, his driver, lingered after the others had gone downstairs. "Mrs. Kane." His voice was barely a whisper. "A moment?" I glanced toward the door. toward the cameras I knew were watching. Louis stepped closer, his body blocking me from their view, and pressed something into my palm. A business card. Heavy stock embossed lettering, Dr. Rachel Winters, Oncology. She helped my sister, Louis whispered, his eyes urgent. She can help you. But you have to go now, Mrs. Kane. Today, before this weekend. My fingers closed around the card. Why are you doing this? Because I have daughters. His voice cracked. And I won't watch another woman disappear into that compound. Then he was gone, following Marcus's security detail, leaving me standing in the foyer with a stranger's business card burning in my hand and a choice that might cost both our lives. I told Marcus's security detail I was going to the salon, my usual appointment at Bella Vita, the exclusive place on Newbury Street where they knew to charge everything to Marcus's account and report back if I said anything interesting. Lois drove, his eyes meeting mine in the rearview mirror with an understanding that didn't need words. We didn't go to Bella Vita. The medical building was 40 minutes outside the city, tucked between a law office and an accounting firm. Deliberately anonymous. The kind of place where women like me could disappear for an hour without questions. Dr. Rachel Winters waited. In an exam room that smelled like lavender instead of antiseptic. She was younger than I'd expected, maybe 40, with kind eyes and the weary expression of someone who'd seen too much. Mrs. Kane, she gestured to a chair. Please tell me about your situation. May I see your medical records? I handed her the envelope with trembling fingers. The death sentence I'd been carrying like a stone around my neck. Dr. Winters studied the documents in silence, her frown deepening with each page. Finally, she looked up, and something in her expression made my heart stop. Mrs. Kane, when did you receive these results? 2 days ago. From Boston Medical Diagnostics. And you went there for testing because... Dotto. I'd been feeling sick for weeks. Exhausted, feverish, losing weight. I went on my own. I didn't tell my husband. The admission felt like betrayal, even now. He monitors everything. Dr. Winters set down the papers carefully. Mrs. Consovia, I need you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you. The room tilted slightly. I gripped the arms of the chair. These records have been altered, she said quietly, professionally, expertly, but altered nonetheless. I've seen this before. Files modified to show worse prognosis than reality. I don't understand. You do have cancer. Pancreatic, as these records indicate. She pulled up images on her computer screen. But based on the actual scan data embedded in these files data, that's much harder to falsify your stage 2, not stage 4. Early enough that surgical intervention combined with chemotherapy gives you a 75% survival rate. The words didn't make sense. Couldn't make sense. Someone wanted you to believe you were dying, Dr. Winters continued, her voice gentle but firm. Someone with access to your medical information. Someone with resources to pay off or threaten the right people. Her condition is deteriorating faster than projected. Marquise's email to V. The timeline may need adjustment. Can I ask you something? Dr. Winters leaned forward. Does your husband have access to your medical records? Does he have connections in the pharmaceutical or healthcare industry? My mouth went dry. He has connections everywhere. And recently, has he suggested moving you somewhere? Somewhere isolated where he controls your medical care? The compound, Dr. Rothstein. I become her savior. This weekend, I whispered. He wants to take me this weekend. Dr. Winters' expression hardened. Then we don't have much time. A sharp knock on the door made us both jump. Lise burst in, his face pale with panic. Mrs. Kane, we have to go. Now. Marco just called Mr. Kane's head of security. He's tracking your phone, asking why you're not at the salon. They're en route. Maybe 5 minutes. Dr. Winters stood decisively. Sophia, I run a facility for women in situations like yours. A safe house, fully staffed, secure. We can start real treatment immediately. Protect you while you figure out your next steps. She grabbed my shoulders, her intensity fierce. But if you go back to him, if you get in that car and return to the penthouse, I don't think you'll survive. Not the cancer him. Whatever he has planned at that compound, I can't just disappear. He'll find me. He always finds. Let him try. Dr. Winters was already moving, grabbing a coat, keys. I've been doing this for 15 years. We have protocols, legal protections, security that understands men like your husband. Louise grabbed my arm. Mrs. Kane, please. My sister. She went to a compound like that, with a man like him. She never came home. Through the window, I saw a black SUV turn into the parking lot. Marcus's vehicle. Marco at the wheel, scanning the building with predatory focus. Dr. Winters opened a back door I hadn't noticed. Decide now, Sophia. My car or his. Life or captivity. I looked at the SUV, then at the woman offering me a chance I didn't deserve, and made the first real choice I'd had in 18 months. Let's go. The estate appeared 2 hours later, hidden behind tall pines in rural New Hampshire. It looked nothing like a refuge, more like a bed and breakfast, all warm wood and welcoming windows. But the security cameras mounted discreetly at every corner told a different story. We call it Sanctuary House, Dr. Winters said, leading me inside. 23 women have passed through here in the last 5 years. All of them escaped situations where powerful men decided their lives were negotiable. The interior was surprisingly comfortable. Soft couches, artwork on the walls, the smell of something cooking in a distant kitchen. Nothing like the clinical coldness I'd expected. 3 women sat in the living room, ranging in age from early 20s to mid-50s. They looked up as we entered, and I saw recognition in their eyes. Not of me specifically, but of what I represented, another refugee from a gilded cage. Sophia, this is Maya, Christine, and Yuki, Dr. Winters said. Ladies, Sophia will be joining us. She starts treatment tonight. No judgment, no questions. Just nods of understanding that somehow hurt more than suspicion would have. Within an hour, I was in a medical suite that rivaled any hospital, Dr. Winters explaining the chemotherapy protocol with gentle efficiency. Stage 2 pancreatic cancer, aggressive but treatable. Surgery scheduled for 3 weeks out, assuming the chemo shrank the tumor enough. Your husband made you think you were dying, she said quietly, inserting the 4. That kind of psychological manipulation causes real physical deterioration. Stress hormones, cortisol spikes, compromised immune function. You've been making yourself sicker by believing his lie. I watched the poison drip into my veins, poison that was somehow salvation, and tried to process the enormity of what Marcus had done, not just controlling where I went or who I saw, but controlling my reality itself, making me believe death was inevitable, so I'd cling to him as my only comfort. Why? The word came out broken. Why would he do this? Control, Maya said from the doorway. She was the youngest, with scars on her wrists that told their own story. My ex convinced me I was bipolar, got me on medications that made me foggy and compliant. Took me 2 years to realize the prescriptions were fake. By then, I couldn't remember who I'd been before him. Christine, the oldest, added, Mine told me our daughter had died in childbirth. Kept me sedated for weeks. She was alive. He'd given her up for adoption. That was 12 years ago. I found her last year. Their stories poured out, each one a variation on the same theme. Men who loved them so possessively that reality itself became negotiable. That night, Louise called Dr. Winters' secure line. I listened on speaker as he reported from inside enemy territory. Mr. Kane he's not handling this well, Doctor. He's torn the city apart. Called every hospital, every clinic. He thinks someone kidnapped her. Good, Dr. Winters said. Let him think that. There's more. Louise hesitated. I managed to clone his phone before Marco confiscated it. The texts between him and Vivian, my stomach clenched at the name. They're bad. She altered Mrs. Kane's records as a favor. She's his ex. Fiancé, pharmaceutical executive. But double quotes. Lise paused. The messages also show Mr. Kane genuinely believes Mrs. Kane is dying. He's been planning this whole compound move because he thinks he's protecting her from the stress of knowing. In his mind, he's the hero. I closed my eyes. Of course. In Marcus's twisted logic, lying about my imminent death was an act of love. Controlling my medical reality was protection. He's a monster who thinks he's a savior, I whispered. The most dangerous kind, Dr. Winters agreed. They never see themselves as villains. Luce's voice dropped. Doctor, you need to know he's using every resource. Calling in favors from judges, politicians, police. He'll find Sanctuary House eventually. It's not a matter of if, but when. How long do we have? Days. Maybe a week if you're lucky. After the call ended, I sat in my room overlooking the dark forest and felt the weight of impossible choices. Stay here and risk everyone's safety when Marcus found me. Run again? But to where? Return to him and accept captivity as the price of survival. Yuki knocked softly, entering with tea. He'll come, she said, sitting beside me. They always do. Mine showed up after 6 days. Alone, unarmed, begging. What did you do? She smiled sadly. I listened. Sometimes that's all you can do. Let them speak their truth, then decide if their truth is something you can live with. 4 days later, as I was finishing my second chemo session, Dr. Winters rushed into the medical suite, her face pale. He's here. Marcus is at the gate. I moved to the window, my heart hammering against my ribs. Below, a single black car sat at the gate. Not the usual convoy of SUVs, not Marco and the security detail. Just Marcus, alone, standing in the early morning mist like a man at the edge of the world. He looked destroyed. Unshaven, his suit rumpled, dark circles carved beneath his eyes. In his hand, something caught the light. My wedding ring. The obscene diamond I'd left on the bathroom counter when I fled. Dr. Winters strode to the front door, her posture radiating authority. Through the intercom system, her voice echoed through the house. Mr. Kane, this is private property. You need to leave. Marcus stepped closer to the gate, and I heard his voice. Raw, desperate, nothing like the controlled man I'd married. Please. I just need you to tell her something. Just a message. Then I'll go. She doesn't want to hear from you. I know about the records. His voice cracked. Vivian told me everything. What she did. How she altered the files. I attended her. Sophia needs real treatment, not whatever insane plan I convinced myself was protection. He gripped the gate with white-knuckled hands. Please, just let me see her. Let me explain. Dr. Winters's jaw tightened. She looked back at me, the question clear in her eyes. What does ended to her mean? I asked quietly. Maya appeared at my side. With men like that? Could mean anything from fired to dead? Christine joined us at the window. My ex came too, alone, crying, swearing he'd changed. That was 6 years ago. Sometimes they actually mean it, but only after you're strong enough to leave first. That's the paradox. They can only become better after they've lost you. Yuki touched my shoulder. Mine found me after 6 days. Came alone like this one. Begged forgiveness. I listened. She paused. We've been divorced for 5 years. He's remarried in therapy, genuinely different. But I couldn't be the one to fix him. That had to be his choice, without me as incentive. I watched Marcus through the glass. He wasn't performing for an audience. There was no one here to manipulate, no image to maintain. His grief looked real. But then again, everything about him had looked real once. Tell him I'll see him, I said finally. But only with you present, Dr. Winters. In your office. And he leaves his phone, his watch. Anything that could track or record. Dr. Winters nodded and relayed my terms through the intercom. Marcus sagged against the gate, relief and anguish warring across his features. Yes. Anything. Thank you. 10 minutes later, I sat in Dr. Winters's office, the doctor positioned between me and the door like a bodyguard. My hands shook despite the medication, despite the 4 days of distance I'd put between myself and my husband. Marcus entered and stopped dead, his eyes finding mine with an intensity that stole my breath. Sophia. My name on his lips was prayer and penance. God, you look sick. I finished coldly. Dying? Which version of my health are we using today, Marcus? He flinched like I'd struck him. I deserve that. I deserve all of it. He stayed near the door, making no move to approach. I know you have no reason to believe me, but I need to try to explain. You made me think I was dying. My voice remained steady, though tears burned behind my eyes. You manipulated my medical records, conspired with your ex-fiancé, engineered my reality. What explanation could possibly— There isn't one. He cut me off, his voice ragged. There's no excuse, no justification that makes it acceptable. I'm not here to defend what I did. I'm here to confess it. Dr. Winters leaned forward. Mr. Kane, what exactly did you do? And I want specifics, no vague admissions designed to minimize your culpability. Marcus met her gaze, then mine, and I saw something I'd never witnessed before. Genuine shame. I paid Vivian to alter Sophia's medical records, he said quietly, to make her cancer appear terminal when it wasn't. I did it because she'd been pulling away from me, questioning our marriage, and I was terrified of losing her. I thought if she believed she was dying, she'd need me, depend on me completely. The words hung in the air like poison. And Vivian? I asked. What did ended her mean? His jaw tightened. I destroyed her career. Got her medical license revoked, her pharmaceutical contracts terminated. She'll never work in healthcare again. But she's alive, if that's what you're asking. Exiled to Europe with enough money to survive, but not enough to ever return. Tell me about the surveillance photos, I said, my voice like ice, the ones from 2 years ago. A full year before we accidentally met. Marcus closed his eyes briefly, and when he opened them, they glistened. I saw you at a gallery opening. You were wearing a blue dress, laughing with friends, so alive. I couldn't stop watching you. So I hired someone to learn everything about you. Where you worked, what you liked, who you loved. I engineered our meeting at the charity gala down to the minute. You stalked me. Yes, no hesitation, no softening. I stalked you, studied you, manipulated circumstances to make you think our relationship was organic. I isolated you from friends, controlled your access to family, monitored every aspect of your life. His voice broke. I called it protection, love, but it was ownership. Possession masquerading as devotion. Dr. Winters's expression remained carefully neutral. And the compound? What was the plan there? Marcus's hands clenched into fists. My private physician, Dr. Rothstein, was supposed to discover the error in her diagnosis, run new tests, find the cancer was treatable after all. I'd be the hero who saved her, the husband she couldn't live without. He laughed bitterly. I convinced myself it was romantic. That orchestrating her salvation meant I loved her more than anyone else could. You're insane, I whispered. I know. He looked at me with eyes full of anguish. I know what I am, Sophia. What I've always been. A monster who watched his first wife die of cancer and lost his mind in the aftermath. The revelation struck like a physical blow. What? Caroline. His voice dropped to barely audible. We were married for 3 years. She was diagnosed with ovarian cancer 6 months before she died. I watched her deteriorate, watched doctors fail her, watched her slip away while I stood there useless. His composure cracked. I swore I'd never feel that helpless again. Never love someone. I couldn't protect completely. So you decided to control everything about my life. I thought if I monitored your health, your movements, your entire existence, I could keep you safe. Keep death away through sheer force of will. He dragged a hand through his hair. When you started getting sick, I panicked. Had Vivian checked your records, and when she found the cancer, I couldn't accept it. Couldn't accept losing someone else I loved. The woman laughing at your dinner, I said. Who was she? Marcus's eyes widened slightly. That was Anna, my sister. She owns Giancarlo's, the restaurant. She'd been trying to talk me out of the compound plan for weeks, telling me I was destroying you, that I needed to come clean. He pulled out his phone from where security had stored it, scrolling to show photos. Look, Here's the reservation under her name. Security footage from the restaurant showing us at a table with her husband. I studied the images. Anna, who I'd met twice at family gatherings, her husband Marco different from Marcus's head of security, all of it verifiable, all of it true. You smelled like perfume that night, I said. Anna hugged me when I arrived. She always wears too much. He set the phone down. I know how it looked. How everything looked. I know I've given you no reason to believe me. Dr. Winters interjected. Mr. Kane, even if every word you're saying is true, you understand that what you did constitutes psychological abuse, coercive control, that your trauma doesn't excuse your actions. I understand. He turned to her. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking Sophia to come back. I just needed her to know the truth before I signed whatever papers her lawyers draw up. What papers? I asked. Marcus reached into his jacket slowly, extracting a folded document. Divorce papers. My lawyer prepared them yesterday. Everything's already signed on my end. The penthouse, the accounts, enough money that you'll never worry about anything again. All yours. No strings, no conditions. He slid them across the desk. You're giving me a divorce. I'm giving you freedom. His smile was broken, devastated, because I finally understand what love actually means. And it's not possession, Sophia. It's letting go. I stared at the divorce papers, my name already typed in elegant font alongside his signature. Freedom, purchased with the stroke of a pen. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like another manipulation I couldn't quite see. I want proof, I said flatly, of everything. Vivian's confession, Anna's restaurant reservation, the security footage, bank records showing payments to whoever altered my files. All of it. Marcus nodded immediately. I brought everything. Luce has it in the car. Luce helped me escape, I said carefully. Why would you trust him to? Because he was right to help you. Marcus's voice was quiet. When I realized what he'd done, I promoted him, made him head of personal security. He's the only one who had the courage to save you from me. Dr. Winters stood. I'll retrieve the documents. You two stay here. She gave Marcus a warning look. No touching, no moving closer. Understood? Understood. After she left, silence stretched between us like an open wound. How's treatment? Marcus asked finally. I'm alive. That's more than you led me to believe I'd be. He absorbed the blow without flinching. I'm glad you're alive, Sophia. Even if you hate me, even if I never see you again. I'm glad you're alive. The genuine relief in his voice cracked something in my chest. This was the man I'd fallen for, the one who'd held me during thunderstorms, who'd memorized how I took my coffee, who'd cried watching me paint because he said I looked free in those moments. That man had been real, and so had the monster. Dr. Winters returned with a thick folder. For the next hour I reviewed everything. Security footage of Marcus confronting Vivian in his office. Her terrified confession recorded on his phone. Bank statements showing a $200,000 payment to a clinic technician, then another $500,000 to Vivian herself. Emails between them discussing the modification of my records. Documentation of Vivian's destroyed career licenses revoked, contracts terminated, her name blacklisted across the medical industry. The restaurant reservation under Anna's name. Security camera footage showing Marcus, Anna, and her husband at dinner while I'd been reading my death sentence. Everything checked out. Every claim, every detail, all of it verifiable. Evidence can be fabricated, Dr. Winters said quietly, when we were alone. Men with his resources can manufacture anything. The question isn't whether this is real, it's whether you can live with someone who thought any of this was acceptable in the first place. I thought of Caroline, Marcus's first wife, dying while he stood helpless. Trauma didn't excuse abuse, but it explained the shape his love had taken, controlling, consuming, desperate to prevent loss through absolute dominance. That night, I sat with the other women in the common room. Maya, Christine, Yucca survivors who'd walked this path before me. He gave you divorce papers already signed, Christine observed. That's not manipulation. That's surrender. Or it's the ultimate manipulation, Maya countered. Make the grand gesture so you feel obligated to give him another chance. Yuki shook her head. If he wanted to manipulate her, he'd fight the divorce, drag it out, make her prove why she deserves freedom. Signing first means he's accepted losing her. Can people like that actually change? I asked. Sometimes, Christine said. But only if the consequences are real. Only if they lose everything and choose to rebuild themselves. Not for you, but because they finally see their reflection clearly. By morning, I'd made my decision. I asked Dr. Winters to bring Marcus back. He arrived within the hour, hope and fear warring in his expression. I'm not signing the divorce papers, I said. Not yet. His breath caught. But I'm not coming back either. Here are my terms. I finished treatment here at Sanctuary House. You can visit once a week, supervised for 1 hour. You sign legal documents giving me independent access to all finances, all medical decisions, complete autonomy. You attend therapy, real therapy, not whatever you tell yourself counts. And if you violate a single boundary, monitor a single movement. Try to control even one aspect of my life. I'm gone forever. Marcus's eyes glistened. Yes, all of it. Whatever you need. I don't need you, Marcus. That's the point. My voice was steady now. Certain. You don't get to keep me by making me depend on you. You earn the right to stay by proving I can trust you when I don't need you at all. The scans came back clear on a Tuesday in October. Dr. Winters wept when she told me professional composure, finally breaking after 6 months of careful optimism. The cancer was in remission. I'd survived both the disease and the monster. I moved into a small apartment in Portland, 3 hours from Boston. Far enough for safety, close enough that Dr. Winters could monitor my recovery. I started painting again, something I hadn't done since Marcus had suggested a home studio in the penthouse where cameras could watch my every brushstroke. Marcus kept every promise. Weekly visits, always supervised, never pushing. He attended therapy with Dr. Catherine Millside, verified she was real, legitimate, specialized in trauma and control disorders. He'd stepped back from the violent side of his business, Lewis reported, focusing on legitimate enterprises. The man who'd orchestrated my reality had signed legal documents giving me complete financial autonomy, power of attorney over my own medical care, access to accounts he couldn't monitor or control. Every week, flowers arrived at my door, never with demands, just simple notes. Proud of you, M, or your strength humbles me. M, or simply thank you for being alive. M, I never responded, but I never threw them away either. Tonight, 6 months and 3 days after I'd walked away from my marriage, Marcus had asked to see me. Not at Sanctuary House, but at a small Italian restaurant in Portsmouth's neutral territory, public, safe. When I arrived, Anna was already there. Marcus's sister stood as I entered, her expression warm but cautious. Sophia, you look wonderful. Really wonderful. I did look different. My hair had grown back in soft curls after chemo. I've gained back the weight, the color in my cheeks. Most importantly, my eyes were my own again, clear, certain, belonging to no one but me. Marcus sat across from her, and the transformation startled me. He looked healthier than I'd ever seen him. The darkness that had always lurked behind his eyes had softened into something that might have been peace or exhaustion. Hard to tell the difference. Thank you for coming, he said quietly as I sat. I wasn't sure you would. Honor's presence helped. His sister smiled sadly. I'm here as witness. And as someone who loves you both enough to be honest. A waiter brought water, took orders, disappeared. The silence stretched, not uncomfortable, but weighted with 6 months of distance. Marcus reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. The divorce papers, more worn now, as if he'd been carrying them everywhere. I had my lawyer update these, he said, sliding them across the table. Still signed on my end, still giving you everything. But I wanted you to have the choice, Sophia. Not because I forced your hand, not because you felt obligated, but because you decided what you wanted. I stared at the envelope, not touching it. You've changed, I said. It wasn't a question. I've tried to. His voice was careful, measured. Dr. Mills says trauma doesn't excuse abuse, but understanding my trauma helps me recognize the patterns. I controlled you because I was terrified of losing you the way I lost Caroline. But love isn't preventing loss. It's accepting that loss is possible and choosing connection anyway. Anna leaned forward. He's different, Sophia. Really different. He's sold off 3 of his most problematic operations. He funded Sanctuary House anonymously. No strings. He hasn't monitored your phone, your movements, anything. I've been watching him because I couldn't trust it at first either. But, I prompted, but change is real. He's not the same man who married you. She paused. The question is whether that matters. Whether what he did can be forgiven, even if he's genuinely different now. Marcus's hands lay flat on the table. No reaching, no demanding. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect you to sign those papers and say we're trying again. I just wanted you to know. If you want to be free of me completely, you are. And if you want to stay legally tied while you figure things out, that's your choice too. My studio smelled like linseed oil and possibility. Canvases lined the walls, some finished, others in progress, all of them mine in a way nothing had been mine for years. The art gallery in Portland wanted 12 pieces for a spring show. My first solo exhibition since before Marcus. I was painting when he knocked. Not at the door. Marcus had learned to text first, ask permission, wait for invitation. This was my space, and he respected that boundary the way he now respected all boundaries. With the careful attention of someone who'd learned exactly what breaking them cost. "Come in," I called, not setting down my brush. He entered carrying takeout from the Thai place I liked, no expectations in his posture. Just offering, not demanding. We'd fallen into this rhythm over the past 6 months, weekly dinners, sometimes at restaurants, sometimes here, always casual, always with escape routes. "Pad see you. Extra vegetables," he said, setting the bag on my small kitchen counter. "And spring rolls because I know you forget to eat when you're working." I smiled despite myself. "You know me too well. I'm trying to know you appropriately." He unpacked the food, giving me space to finish the painting's current section. Not obsessively. Not possessively. Just attentively. The distinction mattered. He could recite it now, the difference between love and control. Dr. Mills had taught him that, and hundreds of therapy hours had made it stick. We ate at my small table, talking about ordinary things. His sister's restaurant expansion. My upcoming gallery show. Luce's daughter's graduation. Marcus had paid for her college quietly, because Luis had saved my life, and Marcus was learning that love meant supporting the people who mattered to those you cared about. The divorce papers sat in my desk drawer, still unsigned. Neither of us mentioned them anymore. "I have something to tell you," Marcus said as we finished eating. "I'm stepping away from the family business. Completely. Selling my remaining interest to my cousin." I set down my fork. "Marcus, it's not for you," he interrupted gently. "Or not only for you. It's because I finally looked at what I'd built and realized it was all constructed on control and fear. Everything I touched, I corrupted. I don't want to be that man anymore." "What will you do?" "Anna and I are opening a foundation for families affected by cancer. Funding treatments, supporting caregivers, connecting people with resources." His smile was self-deprecating. "Trying to do something that builds instead of destroys. Dr. Mills says it's called making amends. Though she's clear that amends don't erase damage." I studied him across the small table. This man who'd stalked me, manipulated me, made me believe I was dying, who'd also funded the safe house that saved me, attended therapy religiously, given me complete freedom without asking for anything in return. "I don't know if I'll ever sign those papers," I said quietly, "or if I'll ever tear them up. I don't know what we are, Marcus. Married but separated? Healing but broken? Divorced and everything but paperwork? We're whatever you need us to be." His voice held no pressure, no agenda. I'm not waiting for you to forgive me so we can go back to what we were. I'm just grateful you're alive and painting and building a life that's entirely yours. And if I decide that life doesn't include you, then I'll be grateful I knew you at all, even if I knew you badly. After he left, I returned to my canvas. The painting showed a bird perched on an open cage door, not flying away, not returning inside, just resting in the space between. Free to choose, Dr. Winters called that evening. How are you feeling? Strong, I said, and meant it. I was 32 years old. I'd survived cancer, survived a monster's love, survived everything designed to destroy me. The future stretched ahead, uncertain and terrifying, and completely my own. Marcus might be part of it, or he might not. But that was the point. It was my choice now. My life, my terms, my freedom. The divorce papers remained unsigned in my drawer. Some days I thought about finishing it. Other days I thought about the man who brought me Thai food and funded cancer foundations, and looked at me like I was a person, not a possession. Maybe love could be rebuilt on honest foundations. Maybe redemption was possible when someone genuinely changed, not to win you back, but because they'd finally seen themselves clearly. Or maybe some broken things stayed broken, and that was okay too. I picked up my brush and returned to the painting. The bird on the cage door, caught in the moment of deciding. Flying away wasn't freedom. Staying wasn't captivity. Freedom was having the choice at all.